Hey guys, Enter the Stars, and I'm sorry for the late start. I wanted to come on here today and talk about the steps that it takes to leave the matrix. I want to talk to you today about some of my personal goals in my life and also give you some ideas to think about, to ponder in your escape from the matrix. Now, what am I talking about? Well, as many of you know, based on watching channels like mine, we are stuck in some sort of sick system of slavery. We're born into this, and the evidence is becoming clearer and clearer as time goes on. What exactly we are living in. Now, what is the alternative? The alternative is the natural life, natural man and woman, the original plan of the garden. And even after the fall of man, we were given the option of how to live our lives. It is the enemy who has taken away our ability to live the way that we were meant to live. Now, some of the consequences of this are pretty dire. Health consequences, mental consequences, pushing us to the very boundaries of our mental abilities to cope and deal with this. Now, apologies for the sound, but my mic isn't working today, so I'm speaking to you through the computer mic. And we have a lot to cover. We're going to get into some very high detail on this show. For those of you that are already living this life, and those of you that are thinking about doing it, we're going to discuss all of these things today on the show. We're also going to have a two-way discussion at the end of the show. But I'm glad you guys could all show up. And please share this video so that all of us can share in this brainstorm of how we're going to do this. Now, I do want to share with you the journey and also clarify with you some comments that I made on a previous video regarding the fish. And I actually made a mistake, or maybe I didn't, based on your personal belief system about what they're telling us these fish are. Okay, now in my show, I call these genetically modified fish. And I'll let you decide what that actually means, but I thought it would be good for us to talk about this a little bit more. But what happened is in me thinking about this, I also realized part of the problem is that we're locked into this matrix system. Now, there's no way to completely leave the matrix. There just really isn't, because they have forced us into this world of using money, right? And anytime you need money for anything or licensing and things like that, it's going to cost some money and you will be still tied into the matrix. But there are ways to minimize your footprint in the matrix and also to be independent and emancipated. Now, I've got some notes pulled up. I want to give some quick shout outs. I see Saving Humanity, Candy, Kurt, Mind FK39, Nash, Rick James. Now, this is what brought upon this whole thing. I was reading about the triploid fish of California. Now, this is from the Department of Fish and Game, and they basically explain that in simple terms, a triploid fish is merely a fish that is sterile. Now, they stock all of the rivers and streams and lakes in California with these triploid fish. When I heard the word triploid, to me it sounded like a GMO fish, but as far as what they're telling us, this is not a GMO fish. It says they have 3 sets of chromosomes, unlike a fertile fish that has 2 sets of chromosomes. A two-set chromosome fish is a diploid fish. Triploids are common in many industries. Seedless watermelons are triploids, as are bananas. Triploids are also naturally occurring. Now, they state here that a triploid fish is not a genetically modified organism because they occur naturally. But what they've done is they forced these fish into the triploid type. They do this through basically the alteration, not the alteration, but the forcing of the seeds of the fish, the eggs of the fish. They force them to be triploid instead of diploid, if that makes sense. I'm going to show you the process of how they do this, but it says the genes of the fish have not been manipulated or changed in any way. That is true. But what has happened is they've all been forced to be a certain type. Okay. So this word modified is not very clear because they did actually manipulate this. They did manipulate it to be a certain type. They messed with the natural way that these eggs would fertilize and become the fish that they would become. And so, in my opinion, they did modify these fish, even though they occur naturally to a much smaller degree. Now, the way they do this is they have this process of they take the eggs and they use pressure, and the pressure somehow only allows the triploid eggs to be fertilized, making triploid fish, which cannot reproduce. Now you got to ask yourself, why would they allow this to happen? Why not introduce diploid fish that are not sterile, that can reproduce? And they say it's because if they do, it will overtake the natural population of the fish. But what they don't tell you is that they're already affecting the natural biorhythms of the fishery just by introducing these fish in here, because these fish eat everything and they eat the eggs of the natural fish. In other words, there's a much greater impact on the fishery by introducing these fish than there would be if these fish were able to reproduce. Also, why not take the natural fish and put them in the hatchery and let them grow and reintroduce them back into the wild? Why not do it that way? Do you see how they've basically tried to trump God, and they've stepped in the place of God in trying to modify our natural environment? And then I began to think to myself, when I buy a fishing license every year, which costs like $70 now for a 2-pole license and appropriate stamps and things here in California, part of that license goes to what's called a put and take program. I know many of you on here are not fishermen, but this is important to the rest of this show, and that's why we're covering it today. Basically, what happens is part of your fishing license goes to what is called a put and take program. And what they do is this is the whole hatchery system program where they make these fish, they introduce them into the lake, streams, and rivers, and then you're allowed to take the fish. Okay, so that cost is supposed to be covered when you buy a fishing license. Right? Wrong. Why is that wrong, Casey? Because once they introduce these fish back into the wild, the dams, the rivers, the lakes, the streams, they then double dip. They charge extra lake fees to get into the lake to fish. The lake that I live near costs an extra $6 plus the $10 lake fee to get in. $16 to get in to catch a fish. And then on top of it, the release of these fish is highly regulated. So then you have on top of that a third layer of control and money making, and that is with the fishing game, Department of Fishing Game. And they frequent everywhere the fish are dropped. They are there right behind them to make sure that everybody has their fishing license and that no one has caught any fish over their limit. And as they basically control the resource. So they generate a resource, then they control it, and then they double and triple dip. And it's just unfair. And so I was pontificating all this and thinking about it. And I was thinking to myself, how do they get away with this? And what is the alternative? And it just reminded me that this is just another facet of the matrix. This is what we're born into. We're born into these prison cells. It doesn't matter what you do in your life, you're born into a prison cell. Either you have to go work at a job and listen to a manager, okay, who threatens all of your livelihood, your ability to pay your mortgage, your car payments, basically dictates the nature of your personal and private life through the threat of you not having that job anymore. And if you don't do that, then you're locked into the system, right? You're locked into the system of free things. And a lot of people are locked into that system as well. Welfare, food stamps. And then you have to listen to all their rules. Or you can become a crazy person and you can get locked into that system but then you got to go show up to your doctor and get your medications and live that life. You see how everywhere you go, it's a prison cell, and none of it is natural. None of it was what was originally intended. And fishing is no different. And I just realized that a few days ago when I tried to go fishing here in the place that I grew up. And I realized that this is just another prison cell. And you can't live freely. You can't do as you wish. So all of these things, as they begin to pile up in our life, in our consciousness, all of these things, they're an attack on our soul because it's not natural. Our brain wasn't meant to contemplate licensing and rules and tickets in court. And then people wonder why they need vices to stay sane. People wonder why they have a smoking habit or a drug habit, because these are coping mechanisms of how people try to cope. But all that does is make them a prisoner of something else. So this is the reality that we live in. So what are we going to do about it? Well, fortunately, there is an escape. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Now, I pulled up some notes. I think I copied these notes into the description box so you guys can kind of follow along. Where will we go? How will we live? What will we do? These are the questions of free living. This is natural living. This is your right as a man and woman to live in nature. It's emancipation from the grid, along with its anxiety, stress, and depression. And those are the byproducts of living in this matrix system, as we talked about earlier. Living in a system which basically forces you to use areas of your brain that your brain is not accustomed to using. They wonder why people have high blood pressure and diabetes and ailments and sickness. We were never meant to pay 15 bills or, all of these different things that have us tied into this matrix. Well, what this kind of lifestyle does is it allows us the ability to immerse ourselves in God's natural biorhythms instead of the negative serpent matrix biorhythms. I always worry when I hear people tell me that they want to go live in San Francisco or New York, that something about that is appealing to them, because that is one of the most unnatural places that you can live. And the effects of that have to be negative. They just have to be. It is the epitome and pinnacle of the beast system to live that way. The opposite of that is total natural living, which we're going to get as close to that as possible. Now, my own personal goals, I have a few in my life, and I'm going to share those with you today. But basically what this entails is a detoxification of the unnatural data that's entering our minds. And it is a detoxification process, because the first thing that you're going to feel when you start to detoxify from this is you're going to feel anxiety. You're going to feel like, where's my phone? Or, well, I don't have internet access. Or, what am I going to do all day? Okay, these things start to enter your mind. But you have to brush those things off. We're going to talk about a solution today where you can live free, still have internet, still have power, still have a secure environment in which to live. Okay? This isn't about sleeping under a tree. This is about being free from the matrix system. What else happens when you get off the grid like this is you're letting go of materialism, because you're carrying around with you your whole life. Now, I've been carrying around with me my entire life over the past 3 years. My entire life has fit into my Nissan Xterra over the past 3 years. And I moved from place to place. I've been on my own, renting. Of course, I was in Texas for about 8 months. And now I'm back here in California. But what that made me understand and realize is that most of us travel around with far too many things. And if you really boil it down and think about what you really, really need, most of you could say that it could all fit inside of one car. Okay. The reason why we get attached to things and we start building up material possessions is because that is how we're trained. We're bombarded with commercialism and marketing every single day. And we think that we need all these things. But once we get all these things, we have to manage these things. We have to fill out warranties for these things. We have to maintain these things. We have to constantly think about all of this clutter. Reminds me of the movie Labyrinth, where the girl's in her bedroom and it was actually Jennifer Connelly, and this lady was behind her piling all these things up on her back. And Jennifer Connelly rejected that. And that was actually a moment of truth in that film that actually showed how most of us live our life. This causes us stress. We also have to provide security for the things that we own. Okay. We're always worried they're going to be stolen. That's why Jesus says, do not store up for yourselves gold and silver where moths and rust can come in and destroy them. He knew exactly what he was talking about. Now, the other thing that this lifestyle can provide is an opportunity to evangelize, because as people see your life and see how simple your life is, and your centered consciousness and your ability to not have stress, basically, you're going to all of a sudden, they're going to want to be like you. They're going to be like, wow, this person has figured it out. And then they're going to ask you, where do you get that peace? And this is where you have the opportunity traveling around to be able to share that with them. Now, the system I've come up with that I'm going to share with you guys today is pretty much impervious to all weather. Okay. The only thing holding you back is where you can drive a car or a truck. Now, I have a Nissan Xterra. It's a 2002. I bought it cash several years ago, and it was one of the best things I ever did because I don't have a car payment. It's an older car, but it's sturdy, and my registration for that vehicle is like $130 a year. We're going to start adding up some costs here, and we're going to get real detailed with this. I haven't done this kind of thing before, but any of you that are thinking about this kind of lifestyle, this is the show for you. Now, this isn't for everyone. This is something where you're going to be traveling light, and the people in your life have to be okay with that. Okay. So this is like the life for a person that's already trained their children that this is the life we're going to live. And you have to take a stand, because any outside input you put into this child's life is going to affect their ability to get enjoyment and all they can out of what I'm about to share with you. I just saw a movie, and they tried to paint this kind of lifestyle in a negative light. It was called Captain Fantastic. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this film. I was going to decode it, but I was actually watching it with my mom. And they show this guy who goes off grid with I think he has like 6 or 7 kids, and his wife becomes mentally ill. And instead of taking her to a doctor, they try to tough it out. Well, she ends up killing herself. And so the whole movie is basically to try to brainwash you out of this kind of lifestyle, because they basically show this guy as some kind of a obtuse lunatic, basically, that he was unwilling to compromise on anything. His daughter ends up falling off a roof, which was his fault, breaks her neck, or almost breaks her neck, and so on and so forth. He gets his kids taken away, and then they come back, and his life is basically full of dysfunction and always skirting the authorities. And so they definitely paint him into a negative light. The problem with the film was that they did not depict him living according to his own values. In other words, they set up these values for the character in the film, and then one by one, he goes back on his values. Had he stuck to his values, he could have done his off-grid living successfully. And so that is the problem with the film. But of course, that is the point. They want to depict these people as lunatics. Now, How do we get started? Well, you start today if you want, little by little, one step at a time. Now, the first step, now this has been on my mind for quite some time, how to camp for free in the US and Canada. And believe it or not, there are places all over the US and Canada in which you can camp for free. But I pulled up this article fresh off the grid. I'm going to copy and paste this to give props to these folks because they pretty much said everything that I wanted to say regarding this. There's the link right there in the chat. Now, this is a great article because they talk about how to find free camping in the US and Canada. What is free camping? Free camping, they're going to explain it here, where you can pull right off the side of the road. Whether you're traveling long-term or camping on a budget, learning how to find free camping is an essential skill. We spent the past 9 months camping across the US and Canada. And one of the most frequent questions we get asked is, how do you afford to pay for campsites? The simple answer is we don't. Now, though these folks stay in a tent, we're going to show you the RV version of this, okay? If we have to pay the usual $20 to $30 per night to stay at an established campground, we would have gone broke long ago. Instead, we've gotten very good at finding places where you can camp for free. Yes, places do exist. Whether you call it dispersed camping, boondocking, dry camping, or wild camping, the end goal is the same: a place to enjoy the outdoors without having to pay a daily fee. There are a ton of free camping options out there. You just need to know where to look. Now, what I would recommend for someone who is thinking about doing this is try it for 6 months, or try it for 3 months. Try it for a month if you want. Try something. See if it works for you, okay? Now, it says, we know what we're doing now, but when we first left our trip, we were completely clueless. On our first night out, we remember pulling over on the side of the road in Big Sur and frantically searching for the rules of dispersed camping in national forests on our cell phones, but we couldn't find anything definitive. We ended up camping in a pullout, but barely slept at all that night. It was awful. Next day, we panicked and drove straight up to San Francisco to stay with a friend. Now, I used to live near Big Sur, and this is one of the most beautiful places in the world to camp. The campsites all look like infinity pools. You're camping on a bluff 200 feet up in the air, and just over the edge of the bluff is the entire Pacific Ocean, and it's beautiful. But what they've done to the area is that they've made the campsite super expensive, like $20 to $30 for a campsite, and they're booked up year round. But what a lot of people don't know is there's national forest just a few miles up the road where you can pull off on the side of the road and camp for free. And this is what these people are talking about. It says, now that we have a little more experience in the free camping department, we decided to compile this guide to help everyone who was just starting out. Below I've outlined places where you are allowed to camp for free and how you can locate them. National forests and grasslands. Typically, you're allowed to camp for free in the U.S. national forests and grasslands, unless otherwise marked. Each national forest has slightly different rules, so check ahead of time. But generally speaking, you're allowed to camp anywhere outside established recreation areas and developed campgrounds. What's it like? You have a lot of options when camping in national forests. You can find a nice pullover, backpack into the woods to set up camp, or find an attractive spot along a forest service road. However, you'll need to be self-sufficient, as there will be zero amenities, no picnic table, trash, or restrooms. In some places, you're allowed to have a fire if you obtain a fire permit, and there are no fire restrictions in place. My recommendation, if you guys are RV camping, you're not going to need a fire, and I'm going to show you why. And I'm going to show you the RV that I want to buy and how I'm going to set it up so that a fire will not be necessary to stay warm. We're going to write down some things here in the notes. Let's see here, because I want to show you guys what's going on here. Okay, needs. Let's see here. Let's go up here. Needs. Now, I just told you my car registration was $139 per year. You're also going to need a Tempur-Pedic mattress. recommend this over an air mattress. These roll up. I would get a full-size one. And they're usually about anywhere from, I think you can pick one up for about $50. They go up from there, depending on how the thickness you want. I recommend a thin one, thinner, because you will be able to roll it up easier, okay? It fits into its own bag, just like a sleeping bag would. And basically, on these Tempur-Pedic mattresses, I've never had any problems sleeping. Believe it or not, they offer a little bit more support than an air mattress. Air mattresses get holes, they wear out. You also have to blow them up with electricity. So this is what I would recommend. Now, I would also recommend a $100 0-degree mummy bag. Now, I have one of these. I bought it years ago. It's a sleeping bag that even at 0 degrees, you will be completely warm and comfortable. You could basically be sleeping out in a snowstorm and survive by putting this mummy bag over your head. It is waterproof, and like I said, in 0-degree weather, you'll be completely warm. Now, during the summer, you just unzip the side if you get too hot. But basically, this is the sleeping bag to have. What happens with people when they try this kind of thing is they're not equipped, and then they have a miserable experience, and then then it's not for them. They think, oh, how could anyone ever live out here? Well, this is how you do it. I'm going to break it all down for you guys. I've had many years to think about this. This is my goal. This is what I want to do. And this is something that many of you can do as well. Yeah, air mattresses are cold. Exactly. So I think I bought mine at Costco, my mummy bag. Now, these people go on in their blog to state, due to the lack of amenities, it's essential you adhere to the principles of leave no trace. And what this leave no trace is you have to leave the forest exactly how you entered the forest, okay? So that means taking out all your trash. I'm a big proponent of, if you have to go out in the woods to go to the bathroom, bears and all other wildlife does it. And if we, as the masters of that wildlife, which was our edict given to us by God, to Adam, that we would be over control of all the animals, and we would have dominion over them. I don't care what rules are out there about going in the forest. I believe that that is our natural right as a man or woman to be able to do that. But we shouldn't be leaving trash out there. If you have to use the bathroom and cover it up like an animal would, then you're completely free to do that, okay? Now, these folks went as far as to show this map. We're going to look at this map. Look at all the places in the U.S. where you can camp on national forest land for free. As you can see, there's some states that don't have any national forests, like Iowa. Looks like Illinois has very little. I wouldn't want to camp in Illinois anyway, I don't think. Kansas has very little as well. Looks like many of these are kind of in Tornado Alley, which is probably a good thing that they don't allow camping, because tornado could whip up and like take you to the next state or something. But you see, all here, California is full of national forest campgrounds. Now, there are some rules, you guys. There's a 14-day limit, which simply means after you're there for 2 weeks, you drive to another national forest. And you can keep this going for years. You have to be camping outside of developed campgrounds, no amenities, picnic table, trash, or restrooms, and you have to practice leave no trace. But again, we found out a way to use the restroom. You basically can burn much of your trash. I practiced that a little bit last year. Everything that was burnable, it was winter, threw it in the fireplace, lit it on fire, and really you're basically minimized down to almost no trash. You can reuse plastic bottles, use the same one over and over again, fill it with water, and you'll see very quickly that there's not much trash left, okay? Picnic table you can bring with you, and so you don't have to worry about that. You can set up tables and chairs, and this is about it. Now, where are we at with our costs here? So we got the 0 degree mummy bag. Now I'm going to show you the type of travel trailer that I want to pull. Now this could fit 2 people very comfortably. This is the one that I want one day. Let's add this to the cost. I think you can buy these used. This is called a mini RV trailer. Okay, it's very light. These run from about 1,500 pounds up to 2,500 pounds. They're less than 15 feet long. I could easily pull this with my Nissan Xterra anywhere I want. Very good gas mileage. And they range in price. As you can see, this is shocking how low this price is. I've seen these as low as $4,500, but the lower you go in price, the smaller they are. Now, the ones that I'm looking at are single axle. Let's write this down. Single axle. Let's put we're going to put $6,000 as a median price. And this is a trailer. All these, some of them are called minis, mini RV trailer. And I would say for 2 people, 15 feet or less, single axle, because that makes it lighter. And you want this thing to be equipped with a stove. If you really want to go light and minimalist, you can bring like your own stove, like a propane stove. I do have one for camping, but you're going to need propane to operate this stove anyway. So you might as well have the one that's already installed inside of it. You can get air conditioning, and I'm going to tell you why. You can get sink. You need that for convenience. Again, this isn't like you're like roughing it in a tent and afraid a bear is going to claw in through your tent and kill you. Okay. By the way, many of these forced and like those kinds of horror movies and stuff, and they're designed to make you scared about being out in nature. That's what they're designed to do. But as you can see, this setup is very secure. We're going to look at some of these pictures. Windows, awning. You want an awning. This one has an awning right off the side here. And what else? We'll add to this as time goes on. But as you see, our costs are pretty low. Okay. Many of you could even do this on like a Social Security disability budget. Okay. We're going to get to that as well. If you're on that kind of thing, if you're over 65 and you're pulling Social Security or some kind of disability, you can live this life and be very comfortable. Now, I'd also say you want to be rolling with about $100 a month of food. And these are just stock items that you could whip up with very low energy costs and have a meal. You can supplement that meal with, things you pick up along the way, but you got to have beans and rice. Beans and rice are a staple. Even if you don't like beans and rice, you're going to learn to like them. I roll with hot sauce, spice things up. Ramen, a lot of people eat ramen. I know ramen has some weird stuff in it, but what you can do is just like not use the package and like add your own ramen to it. You're going to need broccoli. It's a cruciferous vegetable. It's cancer fighting. It stores well. And it's very, very nutritious for you. You can add it to ramen, soups. Sometimes I'll just eat it raw. And there's many other food sources, but these are kind of the staples that if you always have an inventory of this in your car or in your trailer, then you're never going to starve. Okay. Even if your days, even weeks, you live off of this for weeks between meals. Let's say you run out of money or something, you're always going to have food. Okay. Everything else, canned goods, you got the weight of the can. I mean, if you had to carry some canned goods, I'm trying to think of examples of things in a can that I've eaten before that have that have been good staples. You can actually carry these cans of beans. These go really good over chips. You can make like a haystack. We used to call them beans over chips with a little sprinkle of cheese, some fresh vegetables if you pick those up along the way. Always makes a great meal. Okay, so it's about $100 a month for food or less. You know, I've lived off less before, you guys. If you've got a fishing license, you can fish. You can actually even catch dinner. It's getting harder and harder to do, but that's what's going on. Now, this travel trailer, you can see this thing. It's tiny. But when you look inside, you've got sleeping space. This is actually an older one. You got a stove, overhead fan, plenty of storage space. Is that a dishwasher? No, that's a refrigerator. Small refrigerator. Little sink, okay? A shower. Now, if I were to have one of these, I would not be using this toilet because I wouldn't want to deal with the waste issue, because you have to deal with that, right? It goes into one of these waste things that they use. You have to pull it to like a station. I would roll with a little bit of water so I could shower off, but you'd be amazed at how little water that you use in this kind of situation, especially when you're living this close to the land. You basically need to very quickly shower off, wipe off, dry off, and you'll be fine. You can maintain hygiene and stuff like that. Okay, I don't know if this one has an air conditioner. Now, how am I going to equip this trailer? Let's pop back in the chat. See, make sure you guys are still with us and see what you guys are doing. Walmart is actually starting to sell lots of good things canned that are organic. Right on. See Crystal in the house, USN Gray Ghost. Learn what you can pick wild and go green. No processed. Good idea, Gary. You can take this all different kind of levels. You can definitely step up the bar with this. You know, you don't have to eat some of the foods that I mentioned. You can actually go greener if you want, but it's all based on your comfort level. I'm kind of giving you guys the baseline of survival and thriving, because now you're going to be having less to worry about. Let me give you an example of how things can get out of hand. How much you guys pay for rent? Most of you pay between $1,500 to $2,500 a month in rent. Then you've got between a $200 to $300 energy bill. Many of you have $300 to $600 car payments. Many of you are carrying like cable bill, like $200 a month cable. Then you've got eating out. Many of you spend about $900 a month eating out, especially if you have a family. You got gas, electricity, or you got gas, various things. You got maintenance on whatever house you're living in. We're going to add in an extra $150 for that. It's no wonder why most Americans making close to six figures are darn near broke. We haven't even counted in any disposable income for things that you want to do. On the surface right here, this represents almost a six-figure income. Okay, this is what's wrong with America. What else this does is it basically limits you to one location on this planet. You experience your entire life in this one place. You're basically creating a prison cell for yourself. And yeah, you can go out and say that you're going to go experience the movies or dinner or dancing or whatever it is that you do. But at the end of the day, you become a slave to this rent, mortgage, bills, and all this stuff. And the minute you stop producing that six-figure income, all of this is on the line. all of this can go away at any moment. And you're basically running in your hamster wheel for someone else to get rich, because you're not getting rich. You're a slave. Even though you think you're making all this money, you're a slave. That is the truth, you guys. Now, back to this. So we just added this up. We got food. Now, in this lifestyle, you are also mobile. You get to see some of the most beautiful places in the world. And we got to add gas in here. And I'm going to say that once every 14 days, even if you moved every 2 weeks and you drove 200 miles, let's say you burn a full tank of gas every 2 weeks. Let's say that, okay? Fill my truck up costs about $35 with the gas prices the way they are. So every 2 weeks, you burn $35 in gas. That's $70 a month. You know what? Let's up that to $100 a month. Why? Because once you drop your trailer off, you want to cruise around a little bit and look at stuff, right? Now, I want you to compare this lifestyle to this lifestyle and why all Americans aren't allowed to spend 6 months out of their life every year doing this lifestyle and having like 6-month leases or mortgages is beyond me. Because I don't know about you, but this sounds very good. And for some people, they're going to want to do this full time. They're going to just skip out on this home idea, renting or owning a home, which you don't own anyway, because the minute you don't pay your mortgage or your property taxes, the bank confiscates it. Even if you've been paying for 20 years and you're 3 payments away from owning it and you don't make that payment, it gets taken away. Same thing happens with life insurance. These are scams. People need to wake up to the scam, okay? There's nothing good about this. Now, where are we at with this? I think we're getting close. Oh, I wanted to look at this. So here's all the national forests, okay? Let's look at some of these places where you can camp for free in the United States. Literally pull up your trailer on the side of the road and enjoy God's natural biorhythm. California is full of these places, and you could actually literally travel all around the United States and up into Canada, just as that couple did. Look, even down here, look at this. Santa Barbara, one of the most beautiful places on the earth. I spent a lot of time in Santa Barbara. I lived there for quite some time. Here's a national forest right here. In these national forest campgrounds, or in these parts of the national forest, you can literally pull your car over, your trailer, fully secure, stocked with food, and you could be living here. I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples of places that I've been to. We're going to get into solar as well, because I'm going to equip my RV with solar, maybe even some wind power, based on, how expensive it is. Here's some images of Santa Barbara. And all back here, all this mountain range back here, this is the national forest. You got the best seat in the house overlooking this Mediterranean environment. Drop off your trailer, pop down into the town, walk around the shops, walk down the pier and the marina. This is called the Mediterranean of California because these mountains are actually faced the opposite direction. Show you this real quick. These are south-facing mountains, which blocks all this weather. So you get this mini Mediterranean environment in here. You park your trailer up here, drop it off, cruise down the mountain, cruise around, and you avoid $150 to $350 hotel per night, which is how much they cost down here. And I'm surprised I hadn't thought of this idea sooner. Now, here's also the beauty of this plan. While you're living this life, if you have income coming in of some type, you're now saving money toward your goal of a piece of land. There's still land in the United States for $50,000. Where? I'm going to show you where. Like I said, this show is going to be very specific, you guys. All the stops are being pulled out right now. And I'm going to show you guys what's up. I've been looking at landwatch.com for many years. This site shows you every single state where land is available. Some states have restrictions on parking a trailer on your land, but others do not. I have a feeling that over the next 5 or 10 years that pretty much all states are going to start having restrictions. But they're going to basically they're going to have to grandfather that in. Let me put this in the chat so you guys can see this. This is called landwatch.com. And here you can search. We're going to search US. We're not going to give a region. We're going to say property type, house, put a max of $50,000. Oops, is that five? Oh, oops, wait. $50,000. We're going to put minimum acres, 5 acres. Is that enough for you guys? Let's do a search on that. And so while you're living the life, you could be, oh, these are featured listings. You could be saving for your own piece of land. Gosh, they're showing a lot of featured listings. Oh, here they are. Are these all featured? Hold on, guys, sorry. Sort by price low to high. And look at all these places around the United States. 863 listings of land. $3,100. Houston, Harris County, Texas, 5 acres. Florida, Hawaii, 5 acres, $7,000. They go up from here. On the upper end of this, there are some really nice properties. State all over the United States, you guys. And I kick myself because throughout my life, I've made this amount of money 20 times over. I never thought to save. One time in my life where I wish I had a piece of land that I could park my trailer and call home and live free like God intended us. I don't have. So here it is, Michigan. Some of these have houses on them, you guys. Tennessee. Tennessee is beautiful. Thought about living in Tennessee once. And the nice thing is if the land has a house on it, then what happens is you could live in your trailer even if the house is not something you'd live in, and you'd be okay. Look at this. Baraga County, Michigan. Let's click on this. $29,000. And for many of you that are young and you're still in the matrix, still working, making your bills and your rent, one day you're going to get to the point where you want this option for your life. I guarantee you. I'm in my 40s, and this is looking really sweet. Now, the beauty of this, you pull up your trailer, look at all the trees. This looks like it may even have a water source. You don't have to live in this. Live in your trailer. This can be like a guest house. This can be something, your project that you're going to work on, right? Look at the beautiful forest. Look at all the resources. Chop down a tree. You can have some wood. Now, some people have told me about homesteading, okay? And I caution you because there is free land that you can actually live on, but what they do then is the government is now in your business. They're going to dictate what trees you can cut down, okay? They're going to dictate all these different things, and they're going to be in your business, and they're going to probably nitpick you and cite you and pick on you. Look, this even has a wood-burning stove in it. $29,000 for this. It's simply amazing. Now, I could live in this. Not everyone could, but this, I could live in this. Being on, how many acres was this? This one is 40 acres. Gosh, this doesn't even sound real. Check out this site, you guys. This is the key. This is the best website I've seen that has all this in one place. So you can figure all this out. Make sure and do your research. Don't just buy something without driving out, seeing the environment, seeing what's happening. This is the way we were meant to live, okay? Free, not married to some job or some manager that we have to please, and being fake and working, doing some job we're not even passionate about, you see. Okay, so what else do we have here? So we just put on here some acreage. Let's pull up our notes here. 50,000 for land. That's going to get you a really nice piece of land and a lot of acreage. 10 acres or better. And now we need to equip our RV with solar. Now, I did talk to Elias, the YouTuber here that I'm working with to provide solar for folks. Not one person has actually tried this option yet. And we're a little puzzled about that. But I think it's also the demographic. You know, I just think that there aren't a lot of people that own their home that come to this channel, which is probably a good thing, right? Because owning your home is kind of a scam. So I talked to him, and basically he has a method to equip this RV trailer with solar. So now you have mobile solar. What does that mean? That means that you're going to be able to run your air conditioner. You're going to be able to run a lot of your appliances inside of your RV and never have to worry about not having energy. You can charge your phone, your cell phone, your computer. Casey, why do you need a computer? Because all McDonald's in the US have free Wi-Fi. And with a little bit of versatility and flexibility, you can detach your truck or car, drive over to the local McDonald's, check all your emails, get online, surf the web, watch YouTube videos, create YouTube videos, and then head back to your trailer for the night. You guys, we don't need to be on the computer all day and night anyway, okay? I appreciate that you guys come to this channel, and I make it a point to basically stay online because this is what I do, because I'm fighting a fight. But there's a lot of empty stuff out there that people are filling their minds and brains with that they don't need to. And we could spend far less time. Now, I think Starbucks also has Wi-Fi, but I don't like hanging out at Starbucks. I get a weird vibe. And with McDonald's, you can actually pull up out in the parking lot. You don't have to go in the store. You can sit in your car, open up your tailgate. Heck, they might even let you pull up a chair and cruise the web on your tailgate. Also, all Walmarts have free camping. Well, you can pull up your camper at all Walmarts in the United States. That's amazing. So if you ever want to go into town and you don't feel like being in the forest, you want to take a break, I'll show you a spot where a lot of people pull up. Let's close this up. So you guys have landwatch.com. There's Santa Barbara. Now, I went to school in San Luis Obispo, I told you guys, at Cal Poly. And there's a Walmart there. I think it's it's Arroyo Grande. Now, of course, this is the extreme, right? But here is the Arroyo Grande Walmart. And the edge of this parking lot has an ocean view that is second to none. It's simply amazing. You can park right up here and see, I don't see any pictures of this on here, but you can pull up here and you get a view of the ocean, and you can park your RV overnight. I don't know how long they let you park, but this is the kind of thing that you can do if you had to, or if you wanted to get out of the forest, okay? Because I know some of you are like, wow. Now, if you wanted to, occasionally, pay for camping in a place that's a little less remote, you can do that based on this budget, right? This is far less of costs than it is to live in the matrix. Let's do this. Let's put this over some of these costs. Now I'm going to look at solar. I know that Elias probably has a price for his panels. They're American made for this kind of application, but if you wanted to go cheaper, I'm sure that you could with like Chinese brand or Japanese brand solar to equip an RV. Let's look that up real quick. RV solar. Okay, so other people have already thought of it. Check this out. This is nuts. So this is what something like this would look like. Just so you know, if you're living this minimalist life and you've got a short travel trailer, let's put RV travel trailer, you're not going to need $20,000 worth of solar panels. You're going to need like one or two, like this one. Okay. This is about the size, actually the little bigger is the one that I'm looking at, the RV, but you know, you can set up solar for very inexpensive and live very comfortably. Look, some of these people are even have this detached unit that's not on the roof. You can just set it outside, like on a stand, okay? But my point is that you can basically have solar power to power everything. So you're going to basically feel like you're living at home, but you're on the road, okay? Again, this isn't for everybody, but for people that are done with their careers, they don't want to have to deal with this matrix. They want to get closer to God. This is the best thing that I could recommend for you guys. Here's some costs for bottom line RV solar. They got kits for under like $2,000. Okay. Looks like 4 panels here. And I'm sure that Elias has some deals as well. He has inline inverters, I think they're called, or converters, which are supposed to be better. So a little higher quality, but they may cost a little bit more, and they're American made. So that's the story on solar. The way I would do it is I would do this all day long on top of this RV here. I would do this all day long. And this is how I would live my life. And I would save for some land to have a place to call home, but not be anchored and attached to. So flexibility to move about freely. Let's take a look at this other one. Now, the reason why you don't want to get some big old hunkin' RV is for several reasons, okay? You want to be able to pull off and get to some of these camping spots. If you've got a giant RV, you're not going to be able to navigate this thing through trees. You're not going to be able to back it up. You know, if it's on a hill, like there's all these factors. Also, I would recommend that you definitely want to be able to tow something far less than the maximum capacity of your vehicle. My vehicle is rated for 3,500 pounds of towing. I want to get something that's no heavier than 2,000 pounds. Because if I go heavier than that, then you're going to have issues with hills and traction and all these other things, right? Now, I really like this RV. This is really nice. This would be the one I'd probably get over the last design. What you want to do is throw your Tempur-Pedic mattress on top of here, your full size. You'll sleep maybe even better than the bed that you normally have. The only issue I could see is maybe hitting my head on here, but I put like a corner on there. But then you throw your 0-degree bag on top of that, and at night you probably won't even need heat, okay? Because 0-degree bag, because you're going to create your own heat inside of this unit here. But I really like this unit here. It's like basically a travel trailer converted into an RV. It's got plenty of storage. It's got some skylights in it. This is a beautiful RV. You have your friends over. Like I said, you're going to be spending most of your time outdoors. You're going to be cruising around. You're going to be fishing. You're going to be, talking to people. You're going to actually have time to talk to people and make friends instead of living your life as a slave to a job. Okay. This is a really nice RV. This one has a microwave, a stove, an oven, a sink. Okay. Now, what I would do is these tables, I would pull these out and put them outside. This would be like a living room instead. I would do all my eating outside, unless it was raining or snowing, right? But this looks like it folds. You could store it, stow it. But this is the life, you guys. This is where I think I want to be in 5 years or less. So appreciate all you guys coming out. I'm glad I was able to share some really useful information. Share this video. Hopefully this word gets out and other people can think about this kind of lifestyle. As I showed you, you can live for free, camp for free, or you can go pay for a campsite if you want. But they seem to be charging a lot for that these days, especially if you're like in a beach community or some of the more desirable campgrounds. And even if this wasn't something you did full time, you could see that the costs are so low that, if it didn't work out for you, it didn't work out for you. But I think this is something a lot of people can do. You're welcome, Crystal. Appreciate you guys. Love each and every one of you. I love Jesus says foraging is fun. Rock counting is so fun. Yes. Now, Blue's been talking about panning for gold. This would be the perfect scenario. You could pan for gold, hitting all these national forests. I'm not sure what the rules are for gold panning. I think it's still allowed in California. Tempur-Pedic is bad for your health, fire retardants and stuff. I'm sure they have natural Tempur-Pedic, or you can zip it up in some kind of plastic if you want. The purpose is to sleep comfortably. USN Grey Ghost cuts his mattress in half so he has it on the side of his bed, or she does. Let's see here. I'm reading your guys' comments. And you become an exile and undesirable, says Omar. I think it's all perspective, my friend. I'm sure that Jesus was considered an exile and undesirable as well. But he practiced what he preached. He said, go from town to town, and if they feed you, stay. If not, dust off your feet and continue to the next town. And he fished. And that's the life I want. Now, this may not be forever. I mean, who knows what the future holds. But the point of the matter is this is how you do it, you guys. If there's anything I left out, please let me know. Love you too, Nash. Canada cannabis under attack today. Corporate greed starts here in Canada for the battle of legal. Okay, so you guys are talking about that. Hey, Run to Christ. Run to Christ is in the house. We have the Garden of Eden and just have to work for it. Yeah, we have to tear ourselves out of the monetary system. That's what it is. Now, I've been blessed because I have somewhat of an income from doing what I love the most, and that is speaking to the 44,000 friends on my channel. That's amazing, and I feel blessed. And it's not always easy, and it is under constant attack, and it is always under threat. But the silver lining is God always preserves it. He preserves it for me. And every year it gets a little bit better despite the attacks. And I actually, as you guys, I actually also ask that you find your niche, okay? You don't have to be a slave in this beast system to have money. There's other things you can do once you find your skill, once you find your niche, once you find the thing that you're good at, that you can bless other people with. For me, it was a YouTube channel. And when I started this YouTube channel, I had no idea that I would be able to leave the beast system and not be rich by any stretch of the imagination, but be okay. Okay? be okay. And I'm good enough with okay because this offers me freedom to be able to fight the beast every day and also help all of you guys with information like this. To he who more is given, more is expected. And this is what my life is going to be. We're going to conclude the show tonight. Appreciate all of you guys coming out. John Smith, Life of Cal, Suki Mama. I recommend that you guys always seek and search for freedom. Freedom from the slavery of the serpent dollar. Slavery of how this world has us locked in our prison cells. And there is a way. There is always a way. And I believe that God is even preserving this for those of us that want to get away from the B system. Okay? Because what the B system does is you have your allegiance to it. You become beholden to it. You cannot serve two masters. There's only one master you serve. And you have to decide today who that master is going to be. And as you begin to see, doors will open up for you. God will begin to bless you. And you will see that you will finally be free. I'd be interested to hear if any of you in the chat has tried this before or spent any amount of time on the road or outside of the B system. Because that would be a blessing to hear your testimony. And I'm going to get off here, you guys, but I appreciate you making the show. Make sure you share the link. Scream it from the rooftops. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Much love. Take care and be safe, you guys.